Welcome to the stuff of your nightmares, America. Suffice it to say, that country has got to be the one with the most number of haunted towns in the world. Apparently, the American dream, or is it nightmare, seems to appeal to countless characters of the underworld too. And right here, we have 3 blood-cuddling stories from 3 equally creepy American towns amongst many more. So stick around so you'll know what haunts to avoid during your next visit stateside. And we'll start in the Copper State. In the quiet town of Tombstone, Arizona, the echoes of the past reverberated through the dusty streets and the wind-whipped saloon doors. It was a place that had witnessed its fair share of violence and tragedy, none more infamous than the historic gunfight at the OK Corral. However, what many didn't realize was that the spirits of that fateful day still lingered, their restless souls haunting the town till this day. Years after the notorious gunfight, tourists and locals alike found themselves drawn to the OK Corral, unaware of the sinister presence that dwelled within its hallowed grounds. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the town, the shadows seemed to grow longer, and the whispers of the past grew louder. As a group of thrill-seekers decided to explore the haunted history of Tombstone, the guide recounted the events leading up to the gunfight, the tension that hung in the air, and the ill-fated showdown between the Earp brothers and the Clanton gang. As they stood before the OK Corral, the guide warned them of the spirits that lingered, seeking solace for their violent deaths. Then the group dared to step into the corral's confines itself, as a spectral fog enveloped them, distorting their vision and stirring an unsettling sense of dread. Faint apparitions materialized before their eyes, ethereal figures locked in an eternal dance of bullets and revenge. The ghostly forms of Wyatt Earp and his adversaries seemed to relive the gunfight over and over, trapped in a nightmarish loop. In the distance, gunshots rang out, but no living souls were firing. The air crackled with an ominous energy, and the group was overcome with an overwhelming sense of impending doom. They tried to flee, but an unseen force held them in place, as if the spirits demanded that they bear witness to their tragic fate. Apparently, any time the town clock chimed midnight, the spirits intensified their spectral duel. The clashing gunfire and anguished cries echoed through the town, reaching the ears of the few inhabitants who dared to remain awake. Some claimed they could see the phantoms from their windows, eternally locked in combat, etched in an endless cycle of violence and despair. As the night wore on, the group's fear turned to desperation. Their guide, who had seen this haunting scene many times before, struggled to free them from the clutches of the malevolent spirits. The barriers between the living and the dead seemed to blur, and they felt an invisible hand grasping at their souls, attempting to pull them into the cursed realm of the spirits. Finally, with the first rays of dawn, the ethereal gunfight ceased after what seemed like an eternity in hell, and the spirits retreated into the shadows. The group stumbled out of the OK Corral, their minds forever scared by the chilling encounter. They had come seeking thrills, but left with a haunting experience they would never forget. The next state is not called the Land of Lincoln for nothing, and here's why. The night was thick with darkness as a group of escaping slaves navigated the treacherous path toward freedom. Their journey had led them to the town of Alton, Illinois, a place shrouded in both mystery and terror. Whispers had reached their ears about the underground railroads that weave beneath the town, promising passage across the Mississippi River and a chance at liberty. With every step they took, they could feel the weight of the past and the ominous aura that permeated the night air. Guided by the North Star above, the group reached the outskirts of Alton, where the Underground Railroad's entrance was said to be hidden. An ancient oak tree stood tall like a sentinel, its gnarled roots leading down into the earth like a beckoning hand. Fear and hope mingled in the hearts of the fleeing souls as they approached the tree, unsure of what they would encounter below. As they descended into the darkness, an eerie hush enveloped them, and their footsteps echoed like whispers through the underground passages. The dim light of a lantern illuminated the way, casting eerie shadows on the damp walls that seemed to dance with the ghosts of the past. Each step felt like an eternity, and the air grew colder, carrying a spectral chill that sent shivers down their spines. Their journey through the underground labyrinth was fraught with danger and uncertainty. Strange noises echoed around them, like the creaking of ancient wood, the rustling of unseen creatures, and whispers that seemed to rise from the very stones beneath their feet. They were not alone down there. Something else lurked in the shadows, something that fed on fear and preyed on the souls of the lost. As they delved deeper into the abyss, they encountered unsettling remnants of the past. Old slave shackles lay discarded on the ground, and faded messages etched into the walls told the stories of those who had sought freedom before them. The weight of their ancestors' struggles hung heavy on their hearts, urging them to press on despite the horrors they felt closing in. Their guide, an elderly woman named Mama Ruth, had once been enslaved herself, but had managed to escape and dedicate her life to helping others find their way to freedom. Her unwavering determination and courage inspired the group to persevere, even when the darkness seemed to suffocate them. Finally, they reached the end of the Underground Railroad, emerging into the dead of night near the banks of the mighty Mississippi River. Their journey was not over yet, for they now faced the perilous crossing to the other side. As they boarded a small raft, the river's water seemed to whisper dreadful secrets, as if warning them of the trials that awaited. As they floated across the river, an ethereal mist enveloped them, obscuring their vision. Faint cries and anguished wails echoed across the water, and ghostly figures danced on the river's surface, their sorrowful eyes fixated on the escaping slaves. These were the souls of those who had never made it to the other side, forever trapped in the limbo between freedom and captivity. With every stroke of the oars, the spirits seemed to grow more restless, and the group felt an otherworldly force trying to pull them under. Mama Ruth clutched a talisman close to her heart. Her prayers became a shield against the malevolent spirits that sought to claim them. Her faith in their survival and her indomitable spirit anchored the group, helping them persevere despite the terrifying specters that haunted their crossing. As the first rays of dawn crept over the horizon, they'd reached the opposite shore, free at last. Their journey through the underground railroads of Alton, Illinois, had been a terrifying and soul-shaking experience, but they had triumphed over the darkness that sought to consume them. And to this day, the town's haunted history lingers, a reminder that the shadows of the past are never truly gone, and that the liberation struggle continues to shape the world we live in. Now it's Arriba time, or is it? In the heart of Street Augustine, Florida, stood the formidable Castillo de San Marcos, a fortress with a history steeped in blood and battles. Among its darkened corridors and ancient walls, a malevolent presence lurked, the apparition of a Spanish soldier known as El Soldado. Legend spoke of El Soldado as a merciless and brutal soldier who had once served as a guard in the fortress during the 17th century. His loyalty to the Spanish crown knew no bounds, and his cruelty towards prisoners was unmatched. Tales of his sadistic ways circulated through the town, but nothing could have prepared the inhabitants for the horror that was about to unfold. As the sun dipped for the evening, visitors were warned to leave before the night fell. But one group of daring individuals, intrigued by the legends, decided to defy the warnings and venture inside to seek a thrill. As they stepped past the heavy gates, a palpable sense of foreboding settled upon them. The air was heavy with the weight of history, and a chilling breeze swept through the corridors, carrying whispers of forgotten torments. Unperturbed, the group pressed on, their footsteps echoing through the unnerving silence. The flickering lanterns cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the castle seemed to come alive with the secrets of the past. They delved deeper into the heart of the fortress, drawn by an unseen force towards a particularly sinister section of the castle. There, in a dimly lit chamber, they encountered the first sign of El Soldado's presence. Right there in front of them was a spectral figure clad in tattered Spanish armor, standing tall and immovable. His hollow eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and a sinister aura surrounded him. Frozen in terror, the group watched as he raised his hand, beckoning them closer. A mixture of fear and curiosity compelled one member of the group to approach the ghostly apparition. His heart pounded in his chest as he inched forward, drawn by an inexplicable magnetism. The others could only watch in horror as the soldier's translucent form reached out and placed an icy hand on the brave soul's shoulder. As the soldier's hand made contact, a torrent of visions flooded the man's mind. He saw the horrors El Soldado had inflicted upon the prisoners. The agony, the suffering, and the utter despair. The soldier's malevolence seeped into his soul, leaving an indelible mark. The man pulled away, his face contorted in terror, but it was too late. El Soldado's influence had taken root within him, and his mind was no longer his own. He became an unwitting vessel for the soldier's vengeful spirit, destined to reenact the atrocities committed centuries ago. And the first victims were his companions. From that night on, the haunting escalated. Visitors to the Castillo de San Marcos reported hearing anguished cries and blood-curdling screams echoing through the halls. Dark figures were seen roaming the corridors, and cold spots chilled the air in the dead of summer. But El Soldado's fury knew no bounds, and attempts to exorcise his spirit were met with violent resistance. It seemed that his thirst for revenge was insatiable, and his spectral rage grew stronger with each passing day. The ghost of El Soldado is said to still wander the halls of Castillo de San Marcos as a relentless apparition suffering retribution for the injustices he caused.